Lakers versus Pacers. Draymond makes his return. We've got some NHL props to go over as well as MLB. And of course, we will go over some UFC. And I may have some bare knuckle fighting championship props to sprinkle in at the end. Welcome to Prop It Up. I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com, being joined by my fellow prop master, Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. Andrew, I know that you were on the team total for the Diamondbacks yesterday, and I was on the Diamondbacks run line, and doesn't get much better than that, does it? For MLB opening day.
I had the Orioles and Mariners were my plays. Orioles and Mariners, but we both. Same thing. Pretty easy wins. Yeah. Holy smokes. I don't think you and I were able to sweat out our plays very much there. Holy smokes. You got to love that.
They were over in the second inning. Right?
Yeah. You could have had minus 9.5 runs. What was it? Minus 11. I mean, holy crap.
Yeah. So I posed this to you, Andrew. What do you say we're done for MLB season and we just take home the title for winning percentage?
Yeah, I might retire 2-0.
Yeah. There you go. Well, we're gonna break down props in a bunch of different sports here. And Andrew, let's just start with MLB. I saw you doing team totals. This has been something you've gone after in the NHL, and you said it best on Twitter. When you're doing team totals, the outcome of the game really doesn't matter. So is that going to be your focus here in MLB this season?
In large part, it certainly will be, Andy. And you know what? One thing that I've noticed a lot more, I think it's something that you said in other sports. I think I've heard you say this. It's easier to predict like a bad team's going to be bad than a good team's going to play good. I'm kind of paraphrasing something that you've said there before. Is that right?
It's hard for a great team to be great every night, but it's easy for a bad team to be bad every night. So it's just like a bad team will occasionally sprinkle in one randomly, good game, but for the most part, when you're bad, you're just bad every single night. Yeah. That's
so overall, that's how I feel about pitchers. For me, like I'm more likely to find a spot where I'm just want to just absolutely fade this pitcher, whether it's taking their under on strikeouts, under on outs, or team total for their opponent, versus taking that team that's minus 225 because they have their ace on the mound. The odds makers know the ace is out there, and every single bettor knows, because I guarantee you more bettors will open up their apps or open up their ESPN website and they'll look for, okay, which good pitchers are starting so I can back them, and not as much which bad pitchers are starting so I can fade them. And to me, I think the second option is just way better, and you're going to end up leading yourself to better prices. And, yesterday, the Orioles one was great. I turned a minus 185 favorite into a plus 105 price. Obviously, no matter what juice you laid in that game, you were able to capitalize. But it was kind of great for my clients yesterday, Andy, because the team total method really worked out, because the late game, I had the Mariners over 3.5. And that was a little more chalky. It was minus 145, the price I got in on. And, obviously it was like a minus 190 game, so I'm still saving some juice. But they lost, man. They lost the game. So it was nice because it was able to show the clients hey, the Orioles won. Sure, we could have just played the run line. But then later on in the night with the Mariners, they went ahead and cashed in the team total off a 2-run shot, but weren't able to win that game. So overall, I'll certainly be looking at that. But whether it be player outs, pitcher outs, or strikeouts, I'm going to certainly be involved. And I'm going to start somewhere that I'm super comfortable with, and that's with the Toronto Blue Jays. Some people, they try and stay away from betting on their team that might have biases. Well, I feel like with the Jays, I'm going to have some good thoughts with props this season because I think I know the team pretty well. And one thing about Chris Bassett, who's going today for this Blue Jays team, he tends to go pretty deep into games here, Andy. And when you go deep into games, it's a good opportunity to look at the pitcher out prop. His is 17.5. He has hit this number to the over in 4 of his last 5 starts. Of course, obviously, we're dating back to last season. But you look at certain handicaps with certain pitchers, and you can go through their game logs, and you can see, 4 innings pitch, 5 innings pitch, 6 inning pitch. This guy's, they would like Chris Bassett to go as deep as 7 innings. And unless he's getting absolutely shelled and having a really bad first start of the season, they want to go ahead and keep him out there. So Is he someone that maybe right now I want to look at his strikeout prop? Maybe not, because to me the outs prop is just, it's pretty much just like you're pretty much betting a guy to go deep into a game is what that prop is. It might as well be how many innings pitched will Chris Bassett go, not how many outs will he get, in my books anyway. So 17.5 is the number against Tampa Bay Rays. They played them yesterday. It was a smooth sailing game for the Jays after a little bit of a tough start. They ended up cruising to a victory. It was a home run parade. But they didn't have to use much bullpen, which is great. But I don't think they'll try to do that again if they don't have to. So I think Chris Bassett goes deep. Over 17.5 recorded outs is one that I have there for him. And then batter versus pitcher. We always talk about this every season. And I will add this. People get a little bit carried away with this. Do you know how many games players play? It's a lot. So just because in history this guy's done well against a certain pitcher, it doesn't mean that every single time that they play that pitcher, they're going to just, have a moonshot out of the park. But I try and find certain bet-on situations here. I found one here with Charlie Blackmon. He's going up against Merrill Kelly. And obviously, Andy, you crushed your handicap yesterday on the D-backs, man. They're going to be out for some revenge. This Rockies team here, we've seen 31 plate appearances for Blackmon against Merrill Kelly. Pretty solid slugging percentage. He's gone deep against him. He has a couple triples against him. I can get over 1.5 total bases for Charlie Blackmon at plus 130. I think he's a vital part of this team. I think during the season, you're going to get some pretty good prices because he's not as high up in the lineup as he once was for this team. So he's someone that stood out to me. And then Nick Castellanos, I always struggle with his last name for some reason, Castellanos or whatever. All I remember is that the commentator just talking about the home run that he hit when he was doing his apology. But I like him against Spencer Strider. Overall, he has a 478 career slugging percentage against Strider. 250 on base percentage. So I'm looking at him to get over 1.5 bases as well. And don't worry, Andy. I'll be throwing in some unders. I know you like to find your under spots, but for me, I'll be looking at more of those a week into the season once I find out some guys that are struggling and they're playing against some good pitchers. But Castellanos from the Phillies, looking at Blackmon from the Rockies, and from the Blue Jays, we have got Chris Bassett over on his outs, which is one I really like today.
Yeah, I won't be dabbling in player props until at least a couple weeks into the MLB season. MLB is just it's ultimate grind. Like, I know we do NHL and NBA, but man, MLB is just like it's a beast. It's just in its own tier. I made the joke with Joe Ranieri last year. I was like, I don't know why we kill ourselves with baseball. Like, we go 9 months and do all this research and hours every day, and then at the end of the year we're up like 3 units. And but I mean, if you have a great year in baseball, it's all worth it. But man, it can be tough. And yeah, you mentioned the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, and I'm looking at this Rockies team, and on the road, one of my futures, Andrew, was them under 60.5 wins. I think they could be the worst team in baseball. I know that there's a lot of competition, and you know me, I love unders, so I love keeping track of the really bad teams. So this is a fun one. I mean, you've got the Athletics and the White Sox, and I'll be looking at those bottom of the standings, not the top of the standings. But the Rockies do what they do. They get crushed on the road, and their pitching was terrible. You have Kyle Freeland as your opening day starter, and then they're throwing Cal Quantrill out there. His over under on strikeouts, Andrew, is 2.5. 2.5. That alone just says it all about what's going on with this Rock. Like 2.5. So Merrill Kelly's strikeout prop is 6.5, and I got to tell you, I really like the over on that one. This is a guy that struck them out 12 and 11 times in his last 2 games against them. I believe he pitched against them early in the year and only had 5, but once he went up against them later on in the year, he just, he kind of ran through them. So with baseball, I feel like I feel like the first 2 weeks are kind of its own little thing. Like the books are trying to figure out the lines. The betters I think actually have an advantage in the first couple weeks because you can really pounce on some of these really bad teams or these really good teams. And then the lines start to adjust and settle in. I feel like there's like a 2 or 3 week really tough stretch. Like weeks 3 through like 6 or 7 in MLB is really tough for betters. So I tend to kind of play it a little bit cautious. I'll tell you what I'm looking for is hot batters right out of the gate and then fade them to regress after a couple weeks. Like I want these guys that are hitting like 700 or like 500 after the first couple weeks, and then you're like, this guy's not gonna he's not gonna be able to hit that many. He's not gonna bat this good for the rest of the seasons. And because he's been off to such a hot start, the public is betting on him. And then the books are, having to raise the prices and you just get some incredible value on the under. So I think next week we'll be able to start identifying some of these hitters that I'll be looking to fade over the next couple weeks. So, yeah, team totals. I got to tell you, books were not shy about making adjustments already. Diamondbacks were 4.5 yesterday. They're 5.5, which I think is that seems fairly new for the books to make an adjustment after one game. But I think they may be kind of figuring out that some of these bad teams are going to be so historically bad this year that they're just going to have to put up these really big numbers to prevent everyone from going in and betting over them. You mentioned the Blue Jays. Are there any other teams that you're focusing on? Because I will be honest, I am focusing on fading the White Sox offense and the Rockies offense when they are on the road, and then the Rockies opponents when they're at home. So if we're looking at team totals, that's kind of where I'm looking at. And again, it's not necessarily the numbers, it's not necessarily the matchups. It's just I want to fade this group when I get the best position. So do you have any specific teams like offense or pitching that you're really going to be focusing on for, I don't know, say the first month or so?
As far as fading, Andy, again, we talk about the best part about like team totals and such, or betting certain guys with their bases. Like, it's just great when you've got a really bad pitcher and then like he comes out of the game and it's like, oh yeah, like their bullpen's also trash too, and that's how I felt yesterday about the Orioles play. I don't trust the Angels pitchers, let alone trust their starters or their bullpen. That's how I feel about the Red Sox. It's how I feel about the White Sox. It's how I feel about the Washington Nationals. So like, it's like I said out the gate, and I appreciate the segue because that's what you got to do. Like, you almost have to find teams to make money against instead of finding teams to make money on. So those are a handful of teams. As far as some of my bullpen rankings, I actually have the Twins. I downgraded them a lot. Twins to be near the bottom, I guess, in their bullpen. And I think their starters are going to have to go deep to lead them to a ton of success. Obviously, the A's. We got the Royals, Rockies. But the Red Sox, to me, I really don't like their pitching staff. I've heard a few people liking their pitching staff, but once a couple of their starters get out of the game, I don't like those, second, third, fourth options. So they're a team I'm looking to fade. But let me ask you this, Andy, because every time we're talking about a sport together, whether it's NHL, NFL, NBA, there's always like a run. There's always something to look at. And I tweeted this out, but I didn't end up giving it to clients. And anyway, so the Dodgers team total is 3-0 on the season. They're 2-1 on the year. They split the series in Korea. But in that game they lost, they hit the team total. So, I mean, at the price we're going to get, because all I've heard, all you heard all winter is, well, the Dodgers are going to be hard to play. It's going to be hard to bet on this team. It's going to be hard to make money on this team. That's what you hear, all kinds of old-fashioned handicappers. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but even when they lose, there's a good chance this team might put 5 runs on the board. I think it wouldn't shock me if in some games we see a 5.5 minus price on their over with their team total. I mean, you've got so many guys on that team that can do damage that would be hitting in high spots on most teams. Like, if you're hitting in the 6 or 7 hole for the Dodgers, you're probably like the best player on the team for like most other White Sox or the A's, and teams like that. So this team total, do we just jump on it until the price gets too bad here with the Dodgers?
I talked with my buddy who played college baseball. And yeah, we talked about that for a while. I don't know. I don't know how high the books are going to put it, but yeah, like one of the big things about that Dodgers lineup is there's just no way for pitchers to get out of jams. Like they're just always up against it. So yeah, I think probably it is. It's a public play. So I don't know. You're gonna have to navigate the prices. And you're gonna have to navigate that the books absolutely know what the public is doing and you know how to attack it. The contrarian would say go the other way and take the unders, but man, I'm not taking the under on the
Yeah.
Dodgers. No way. I'm not going to. So it's an interesting thought because you got to know the books are on top of it, but at the same time, I mean, as soon as they start putting their team total, what 6.5 or even 7.5 when they're playing those terrible pitchers, like really, are you going to go bet an over 6.5, 7.5 on a team total?
Well, you mentioned it's a public play, but I mean, I think baseball is one of those sports where the public does well sometimes if they keep it simple. Like, hey, this pitcher sucks. We're going to bet against them. Like last year, it was a joke on Twitter. It's Patrick Corbin Day, everybody. Happy Patrick Corbin Day. You're taking your woman out for dinner tonight. You know, you're going to make some money tonight for, you know, get your groceries. It's just like if you keep it simple, you can do that. And I think where people go wrong is just like you said, like just taking like, you know, okay, all these favorites, you're grabbing the run lines and expecting them every single game to win by multiple runs. That's kind of where you go wrong. But I just had to throw that out there to you, the Dodgers, just to see your thoughts, because yesterday I'm like obviously happy about a 2-0 day, but I'm thinking to myself, wow, yeah, great call. Yeah, Andy had the Diamondbacks run line, great call there. Okay, Dodgers run line. Yep, this guy had them. It's like, man, there were so many free spots that were available as well, but I got to be happy with the 2-0. I can't be thinking about other plays that could have been sent out, but I just feel like it's going to be one of those things where you're going to see the Dodgers go over get at least 5 or 6 runs in like, you know, 8 of their first 10 games. And then I'm going to try and jump on it late. And they'll be like, this, I missed the boat, you know, and it's that FOMO, Andy.
You're right. You have to get out and you have to try and get ahead of these streaks. And then you got to know when to jump off. I mean, you have to know when it's time to get off of that streak. Get your profits, get your money. If you can go 3-0, 4-0, then bang, you move on to the next one. These streaks pop up all the time. I promise you, as soon as one streak is over, there's 2 more just waiting that will just pop up. It's sports. It happens all the time. So, all right. Over the next few weeks, we will be diving a lot more into some of these more specifics in MLB. But get ready. It's going to be a really, really good season. Let's move on to the NBA here. Andrew, a couple things. Talking about streaks that just kind of pop up out of nowhere. Like a few weeks ago, if I would have told you, hey, get ready, Nas Reed is getting ready to go on a really nice run on his over points. Like that's like you would have been like, wait, what? Nas Reed? Oh yeah. Karl Anthony Towns is going to go out, and the Timberwolves aren't going to miss him. Like you'd be like, wait, what? Like that's what's happening. That's what's happening here. Look at what happened with Nas Reed and his points. This guy has gone over his points total. It's 15.5. He's blown through this in 5 straight games and 7 out of 8. It turns out he's good at shooting 3-pointers. It turns out he's shifty in the lane. And it turns out there's not that big of a drop off. So I look at Nas Reed at 15.5 points. Tough matchup against Denver, but it's a marquee game. But if you're Denver, I think you're focusing on Anthony Edwards, and then there's Nas Reed with this low 15.5 point total. Absolutely. I mean, it says a lot that Nas Reed's 3-point number, Andrew's 2.5. So the books are expecting him to make 2 or 3 3-pointers, and he's been pretty good at that one. So, like Nas Reed is a guy that I would just keep playing. They're giving you almost plus money on his over points, and this just goes to what some of these streaks that just kind of randomly pop up. A really good circumstance opened up on the Timberwolves, and Nas Reed has jumped in to take advantage of it. Another one that has just kind of popped up is Alex Caruso over his 3-pointers. His 3-point number is 1.5, and I got to tell you, Andrew, I love the 1.5 or half 3-pointers. I don't think I've played a number over 2.5 or 3.5 more than a couple times this year. I just love these 1.5s. And Alex Caruso has all of a sudden just been dynamite, and he gets a great matchup against Brooklyn. Brooklyn is 22nd in 3-point defense, and Alex Caruso has gone over in 7 out of 8 at this 1.5 number. And the game he didn't go over, he still had 1. He's just shooting the ball a little bit more from threes, and he's making it. He's questionable for tonight's game, but if he plays, I'm going to be in again on Alex Caruso over his 3-pointers. Again, these streaks that just kind of randomly pop up, they can give you 2 or 3, maybe even 4 wins, and that's kind of what we're looking for in props. So, anything you're looking at in NBA?
No real player props for me, but 2 team totals that I'm looking at here. And one thing I've been focusing on a lot is just well-rested teams versus teams that just have, they're absolutely fatigued. The 4 games in 6 nights, 3 and 4, back-to-back second half. Obviously, things that books are aware of, things that a lot of bettors notice, but instead of looking at point spreads, I'm just looking at team totals, and I find myself looking at these, and it's just great because I'm checking the scores. And I had the team total over for the Hawks a couple nights ago, and the game was pretty close. But I was just like, all right, just keep on going. And sometimes what's great about team totals, you're honestly cheering for a close game. Because if it's a blowout, that team might put the bench players in. They might slow the pace down a little bit themselves here. So we've got the Thunder versus the Suns tonight. 3 games in 4 nights, 4 games in 6 nights here. We also have in-season revenge for this Suns team, so they'll be looking to get back on track. And maybe a little bit of fatigue as well. I've been on the road for a little while here with this Suns team, but I'm seeing 113.5 for their team total. Look at the last couple games here for this Suns team. They've played some tough opponents that have locked them down a little bit. We've seen 104, 102. I think they get back on track. We did see them score 128 against the Hawks, 131 against the Spurs. And I know this Thunder team does clamp down, does play some defense, but I think this is a good situational spot, a good spot to catch this Thunder team that has been playing some pretty good ball themselves. And maybe it can be a flat spot, but despite what happens with the point spread, I just want to worry about over 113.5 for the Suns. Similar situation here, and this is the one that before the show started, I told you might get a chuckle out of me for betting this team on their team total. Yeah, I'm going over on the Charlotte Hornets on their team total, which is just crazy to be doing at all in general to try and make money on this team here. But the Warriors, front end of the back-to-back looked good. Second half of a back-to-back, they looked good. Won as underdogs. You and I talked about that game a couple days ago together. 3rd game in 4 nights, 4 game in 6 nights. They've been on the road at least their 4th straight game here. Coming off a win as an underdog, like I said, they should be feeling pretty good going into this one. You've got, to nobody's surprise, the last time these 2 teams played, the Hornets got their asses beat. So I feel like whether or not they end up keeping this one close, I'm seeing 102 and a half is the number here for the Charlotte Hornets. I think they're going to get over that number. And, with this Warriors team, I've been noticing they've been getting in foul trouble. And that's one way to get some easy hoops for this Hornets team. And in the NBA right now, man, 102.5 for a team total. What is this, 2004? Like, this seems like a pretty good number for a team total.
Foul trouble. Andrew, the guy cussed out the ref and got thrown out of the game. Foul trouble is one way to talk about it with Draymond. I have a crazy theory for tonight. I'm not playing this, but I was seriously looking at Draymond over his assists because he's got to feel bad for getting thrown out. So I'm wondering if he's just trying to get his teammates baskets, and he's going to be the ultimate, like, I'm setting picks and setting up guys
Earn the respect back. Earn the respect.
Yes. So I was thinking under points because he's probably not going to be shooting a whole lot. Like, really, you're going to get thrown out, and then you're going to come and jack up a bunch of threes. So it was 6.5 assists. I will keep my eye on it because I think that could be a hilarious way to look at it. So let's see. Listen,
he didn't learn his lesson
on the Hornets.
We know he didn't learn his lesson.
This is one of the most laughable things ever. Like, volatile, over-emotional guy who has been thrown out of the league for his entire career reinvents himself in the twilight of his career. Okay. All Okay, wink, wink. So I think at WagerTalk we need our version of Draymond Green, like a guy that just randomly on shows pops off and just gets thrown off of shows. I think it really adds some pizzazz. I think it would really bring in some new viewers. So
So you're with me on the
um,
Hornets.
I'm with you on the Hornets. Like these low team totals are sometimes they're kind of laughable in these bad teams because a blowout is great for these. Like you love when a team's up like 120 to 80 going into the fourth quarter because nobody cares. And
Yeah.
they're putting in the backups who are trying to make a name for themselves. So I think it's a really, really good spot. I also think the minus 13 is laughable. I mean the Hornets are bad, but Warriors on the road minus 13. This isn't a team trying to blow teams out. This is a team trying to just scrape wins by to get into the playoffs because they're battling the Rockets. Like the second that the game is a little bit out of reach, they're resting their guys. So I'm with you on that one completely. So another one, you mentioned the Suns and the Thunder. I was going to mention Grayson Allen. His 3-point total is 2.5. I've really restrained from playing those totals over. He went under 2 games in a row, but they were games that they just really manhandled the Spurs. They manhandled the Spurs once, and then they lost in the other. And he took basically no 3-point shots against every other team. He goes over this 2.5. I mean, this is a guy that sometimes has 11 3-point attempts. So I think you can go back to Grayson Allen over his 3-pointers in this one. So. All right, that's going to do it for NBA. So, guys, if you're watching, please hit the like button and leave us a comment. Tell us some of the props that you're looking at. Give us all sports, MLB, NHL, NBA. Love to hear exactly who you like. And give us a nominee for the WagerTalk Draymond Green. Who do you think we could who do you think we could set up for this that just goes off on shows and gets thrown off shows and then they bring him back the next day? I think this would be great. I can't wait to see who everyone wants to be the Draymond Green of
We all know
Wager
it's
Talk.
We all know it's Prez. But he owns the company.
It does check all the boxes. Like we couldn't operate without him. His polarizing guy. He'll be back the next day. It's a good nominee, Andrew. It's a good nominee.
We had to send him skiing for a week. He's suspended, so he had to go skiing with his family somewhere for a week. He'll be back with his antics next week.
I love it. This is great. Yeah, he's on a ski trip. Yeah. All right, that's you're right. That's an easy nominee. It's Prez. We don't even have to think about it. Good glue guy, good locker room guy. But all right, Andrew, tell everyone what you have up going on WagerTalk.com. We got a really, really big weekend of sports. So what do you got locked and loaded for this weekend?
Starting with baseball, Andy, it's now a 14-5 totals run. Last year was number 2 at WagerTalk.com with totals plus 30 units, off to a great start. Cashed a few tickets in the spring league and started things off 2-0 yesterday with the regular season. So 14-5 with the team totals. Got one going today as well here in the MLB. This weekend, I love tomorrow's slate, Saturday slate in the NHL. I actually didn't make one bet in the NHL for Thursday night, but I really do like some spots for tomorrow. So you can grab that over at wagertalk.com. And that's special. It expires this weekend. It's my NHL rest of the season plus playoffs, and then the first half of the Major League Baseball season. It's a great deal. The price is awesome. And if you're interested in getting all my plays, especially with baseball, I try and get them overnight, right? I try and get those plays up early. But if there's going to be a play that, I jump on an hour or two before the game, you want to get that sent right to your email, right to your phone. And this package will definitely help you out with that. So, Andy, I'm excited, but I would tell folks at home the best deal for me right now is the combo pack with the NHL and MLB. How about yourself? What do you have going this weekend?
I'm with you. I cannot wait for tomorrow's NHL slate. Tomorrow's NHL slate is set up. It's beautiful. I mean, the matchups are fantastic, especially for what I play. It's interesting. I had 3 plays last night. That's the most plays I've had in one night all season. So it's interesting that you and I can look at the slate and just see different things. But I mean, licking our chops for tomorrow for sure. You can use the promo code Lang7 LANG7, gets $30 off a 7-day pass. We've got a 5% play up for UFC for this weekend. It includes that. We've got our bare knuckle fighting play of the week that is up right now, and we've got an MLB plus NBA pack. I'm enjoying these combo packs each day instead of separating the sports. Like last night, we did NHL and MLB. We went 4-0 in those. So I think I'm going to keep doing more of those. If I got like one play in NHL and one in NBA, for example, we're just going to put it one pack. So that's what we did for tonight. You got MLB and NBA, 3-0 in MLB, 4-0, nice run in NBA, so you can grab those. But really, just use the promo code Lang7, $30 off a 7-day pass. We're up 48 units in 2024 across all sports, so might as well lock in all of those sports. And we have a really nice lacrosse play that goes off at noon on Saturday. So Saturday is shaping up to be a really, really big day in NHL, lacrosse, and UFC. Let's take a
Sweet.
look here at. Yeah, I'm excited, man. Let's just talk a little NHL here, Andrew. The Ducks team total, is this the gift that keeps on giving right now? This team can't score more than 2 goals. Like last night, it was hilarious. They were down 1-0, and then they scored 2 goals in like 2 minutes, and then that was it. Like they played good for 2 minutes, and then that was it. But I'm loving the Ducks team total under, players on there to not have a point. To me, they're the gift that keeps on giving right now. What are some other teams you've been focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at unders as well, Seattle Kraken player unders are good. I mean, their offensive weapons aren't really weapons at this point. I feel like the Kraken were a good story. I said last year that there's no way that the NHL is going to do it again with an expansion team and let them be what Vegas was, because the way Vegas drafted and made all these trades, it was like a video game, and it worked out for them. But the Kraken, they upset the Avalanche last year in the first round. They squeaked into the playoffs. That's not the case. They're a team that's worthy of fading. And if they go over their team total, that's even better. Bet against them again the next day. This is a team that's not really that consistent. So they're a team that I'm looking to bet against. And the Buffalo Sabres, man, like the difference is between some of these teams, like I would say, Anaheim and a team like Buffalo is Buffalo has younger players, don't get me wrong, Andy, but they actually have a little bit more of like vets. Like they've got some older players as well. So at least if you're like an Anaheim fan, like you're like the future is bright. You know what I mean? Like they actually do have a really good like system right now, like good prospects, good young players. But Buffalo, man, like they're a team that you want to be betting against right now. You want to be betting against the puck line. And a lot of times they're taking these third liners, second liners, under their point total as best as you can. Take the best players under for the Buffalo Sabres because they're just not doing much right now. So that's something worthy of looking at. And then just plain and simple, here's a strategy to look at. And I think a lot of people know this already, but curious your thoughts. If it's a playoff game or a playoff matchup, a game between two teams in the same division competing for a certain spot in that division to close out the season, that's where I'm seeing defense. If you got the Buffalo Sabres and the Ottawa Senators playing each other and their games mean absolutely nothing as far as, standings wise, those are the games where you want to bet the overs and bet player point overs. So that's just one thing I've been looking at, Andy. And then overall, as the playoffs approach, I have been checking out the power play point props a lot. I've mentioned it a ton here on Prop It Up, but that's something I'll continue to look at, continue to bet as the playoffs approach.
Love it. Yeah, we're just going to keep fading some of these guys to not have points. It's a great time of the season where, like you said, like the best players on the Sabres,
Yeah.
Some of these, you're getting great prices on these guys to not perform well. There's quite a few of them out there. So great time to build the bankrolls there. I'll go over a little bit of UFC here. There are some props here I like. First one, Angel Pacheco and Colin Loughran over 2.5 is plus 130. Loughran's just going to grapple this guy. This guy Pacheco, he landed over 200 punches in his Contender Series fight. The problem was his opponent landed over 200 punches as well. Pacheco's not very good. He got taken down multiple times on Contender Series. That's what Loughran's going to do. He's not going to stand there and bang with him. It's just going to be one of those boring, like wrestling, grappling, lay on top of you, grind out these rounds. I'm stunned you're getting plus money on the over because I just don't see how it finishes. Pacheco's not finishing Loughran. I don't think so. And I don't think Loughran finishes him on the ground. I think Pacheco's got too good a cardio. So I like that one. Ibo Aslan, I've talked about this one against Anton Turkalj. This is a revenge spot. And Anton Turkalj has absolutely no striking defense whatsoever. He doesn't cover up his face. Andrew, he got knocked out by Tyson Pedro in his last fight. Tyson Pedro retired after the next fight. He got knocked out by a guy who was ready to retire, and now he's facing Ibo Aslan in a revenge match. Aslan lost to Turkalj 4 years ago when Aslan just gassed in the second round. He was beating the you-know-what out of Turkalj. He gassed, ended up losing the fight. Aslan has knocked out every opponent since then, and I think he takes care of Turkalj. So if Aslan's going to win, just take him inside the distance or take him by knockout. He's going to finish him. And then I don't do much with the plus 3.5s or minus 3.5s. Do you have those up in Canada, Andrew? The spreads on UFC fights? There's a great one this weekend. You can get Verna Jandroba plus 3.5 against Lupi Godinez. Lupi's won her last 4 fights, but 2 of them have been split decisions and against way lesser competition than Jandroba. Jandroba continues to be vastly underrated. I think Jandroba is a live dog at plus 195. Lupi can't figure out if she's a wrestler or a striker, and Jandroba's got incredible takedown offense and a gas tank that doesn't quit. This is a fantastic one. If you've got a book that's got the spreads, I don't see Lupi. Lupi's not going to finish Jandroba, and I just don't see a world in which she steamrolls Jandroba for 3 rounds. Lupi went to split decision against Cynthia Calvillo. Andrew, she's not going to sweep the cards against Jandroba. So I think the plus 3.5 is a really, really good spot to look at in that one. And I'll give you another one, a plus 3.5 on that one. Nate Landwehr, Nate the Train. He can fight reckless, but I feel like he's done a much better job of managing his overexcitement. He's fighting Jamal Emmers. Jamal Emmers is a favorite to win, but this is a really, really close fight, and Landwehr has a gas tank that doesn't stop. He's going to be pushing forward, and if Emmers doesn't get him out of there, I think this is a really close decision. And if it goes to decision, I would be a little worried about holding a big ticket on the favorite in this one. So I think the plus 3.5 is good. I fully expect Nate to land at least one round here. So I love these fighters that are live dogs to win straight up, and you can just get them plus 3.5 to just win a round. So Nate
cool.
Landwehr and yeah, they were hitting all the first 4 or 5 fights last week. The plus 3.5 hit. They were fantastic bets. So, yeah. Do you have anything in UFC, Andrew, before we get out of here?
I don't, Andy. I mean, I told you earlier in the week I was just kind of crapping all over Chris Weidman, and that's all I really that's all I really had. I mean,
we're here for it.
Well, I just think that tearing your ACL is a horrible injury, and it's very hard for anybody to recover from that, let alone a fighter. An NBA player, there's still contact, stop and start. It happens with NHL players. They miss a year and a half of action. But this is a contact sport, and it's a very gruesome sport. And guess what? You got to feed your family. You got to try and elevate yourself. You know what guys are going to do? They're going to kick you in your leg. They're going to kick you in your knee. They're going to literally exploit the area you are the weakest. So I kind of think his fight goes under. I don't see it. I think earlier, in the week, and I really value your opinions in the UFC, Andy. Earlier in the week, you were like, well, I don't know if his opponent will put him out. It might just kind of be a long fight that stretches out and he loses by unanimous decision. But I'm like, I don't know. This fight might be a retirement fight that just ends really poorly. So I might take this one to end inside the distance.
I've changed my mind on that one. So Brad Tavares did take it easy on him in his last fight, even though Brad Tavares landed. And then good friend Jim Malero, who does the UFC videos with me, he's in the chat room. We noticed that Tavares did take it easy, and he still broke the leg of Chris Weidman. And Bruno Silva's lost 4 out of 5. Bruno Silva has to win. He cannot be screwing around in this fight. And Bruno Silva's faster, and Bruno Silva doesn't care about Chris Weidman. And Bruno Silva's losses, when you go back and you look at them, they're not that bad, Andrew. He lost to Alex Pereira by decision in one of his losses. One of them, it came out he was sick. He fought through a sickness. That was the one he looked bad at. He lost the last one against Magomed, nickname's Bullet. I can't remember, Shara Magomedov, whatever his name is. The guy looked great. It was his UFC debut, and the guy looked like he'd been a UFC vet for years. Like he was an animal. So I feel like this is a great get right spot. And you're right. Bruno Silva's going to show no mercy on Chris Weidman, and this is Chris Weidman's hometown. This is probably a retirement fight, and if you didn't,
Kind of sad.
if you did. I know, but if you probably didn't. Did you see the interview where Chris Weidman said they weren't ready for leg kicks in his last fight? He said it with a straight face. He said we weren't ready for leg kicks. It was like, well, that's all your opponent has done for the last few fights, and you're coming off a broken leg. What did you think he was going to do? Like work on guillotine chokes? Give me a break. So yeah, I'm with you on Weidman about that. So,
and yeah, I'm more concerned about his interviews right now, where he's talking about like how he's next man up, like he's going to get a winning streak going.
There you go, Chris.
He kind of reminds me of Tony Ferguson when he's like, "No, I can still beat all the best of the best." It's like, Tony, no, you can't. It's like, you're great on the mic, but you can't.
Oh boy! Someone take the mic away from Uncle Tony. Yes, good friend said the CTE and performance-enhancing drugs have finally caught up to Weidman. Weidman is 2-7 since USDA started testing. Fun fact. I'm just throwing out the facts, people. I'm not making accusations. I'm just throwing out the random facts there for you. So, all right, that's gonna do it for us. I'm propping up. Give us a like. Leave us a comment. Tell us your Draymond Green nomination for the WagerTalk crew. And don't forget to go over to Andrew's page, grab all of those picks for this weekend. Loaded card in NHL and MLB. Same as myself, we've got promo code LANG7 that is up. Use that on checkout. That's going to do it for us. Next week, guys, we're going to be probably pretty MLB heavy now next week once we have a week under our belts to get some real stats to look at. So looking forward to next week. Have a great weekend. Good luck on your plays, and we will see everyone next week.